You're watching the Wellness Hour, news that makes you healthier. I'm Randy Alvarez. Today's topic, cosmetic dentures. If you have a loose-fitting denture, the new modern denture, according to my first guest, is a better fitting denture, and it's affordable. Prices have come down. With us, we have an expert on the topic, Dr. Morton Baker. Dr. Baker, welcome to the program.
All right, thank you, Randy.
Good. Now, I've got lots of questions here, but for people that don't know your practice, because I know you do more than just dentures. I mean, you do dental implants, you do cosmetic dentistry like veneers, but today, I invited you on the program specifically about this new modern denture. Who's a typical denture patient that you see?
So we don't have a typical denture patient, but they normally fall into one of two categories. You either have someone who's got an ill-fitting denture that they've had for a long time. I see patients come in, with the teeth that are, you couldn't chew anything with it if you wanted to. The teeth are so rounded and flattened, it looks polished, right?
How long do people hold on to their dentures? So these are bad dentures that are just worn out.
They're just worn out, right? The ADA recommends that we replace them every 5 to 7 years, and there's all kinds of reasons for that, but I routinely see people who are wearing them 20, 30 years. They're chipped, they're broken. Sometimes you might have a fungal infection on it. There's staining, lots of different things that cause a denture not to perform like it should, that people are just hanging on to them for way too long. So for example, I had a patient who his wife didn't know that he wore a denture.
Okay.
And he was absolutely mortified for her to find out. And so he kept this denture, he'd probably had it for 10 years. It wasn't fitting very well, and so he had gone to the store and did the liner himself. And the thing about those liners,
wait, you can buy the liners?
You can buy them over the counter, yeah.
Really?
They're meant to be temporary. They're not like a permanent solution.
Okay.
But they can make them fit better for a short period of time. He didn't follow the directions just right. I don't know where the wires got crossed, but he had done this several times, and it had never been removed. So that same liner that was supposed to be temporary had been in there for like 10 years.
Okay.
And as you can imagine, it's not sanitary. It had a little fungal infection. It had some black mold growing on it. And once he came in and we gave him a new plan and we were able to make him a new denture, you could tell immediately whenever he got his new denture, he felt better. He was a different person because
Nice.
he wasn't as self-conscious about this thing that he would be absolutely terrified of his wife seeing in his mouth. And the other benefit to this new denture that we made him is that it was made with more modern materials. And so I don't know if you're familiar with the way that dentures are traditionally made.
No.
So we get this putty stuff and we put it in your mouth and you're kind of choking and gagging on it. And then we send that out and it comes back in a couple of weeks with this waxy pink stuff that somehow the dentist is supposed to figure out how your jaws fit together with that stuff.
Okay.
It's not comfortable, it's waxy and it doesn't taste very good. And then you wait again for another couple weeks and they set teeth in there. And then if that's not right, then we're waiting another 2 weeks. And then eventually they kind of, once you get it exactly where you want it, they kind of smash it together between two stones essentially. And then they're spending time cleaning it up for 35, 40 minutes. And it's just an archaic process
Is that still being done today?
It's still being done. It's still being done all across the country.
Okay. Now, I invite you on the show to talk about this topic because you used to work for one of the leaders in the country of dentures. And you said that yours are much better, I think you said much better than the way it's traditionally done.
That's right.
So we'll get into that in a few minutes, and I interrupted you. So the typical denture patient. So you have the one that has an old denture that just never worked right and doesn't look so good. What's the other type of patient?
The second group of patients is someone who still has teeth, but they've been told that all of their teeth need to be removed.
Okay.
And the option for that is, we can do a full mouth of implants and put teeth back in there. But a lot of times these treatment plans are $60,000 and up. A lot of people don't have the finances or aren't ready to commit to a plan like that right at the moment.
Okay.
And so we also offer dentures as a plan, and we, if we are limited on what our budget is or we're trying to try things out in the short term, then our philosophy is why don't we make the best fitting denture that we can, since that's the option that we're going with. So that second group of patients, a lot of times they've got active infection. You're putting a strain on their body. I've got an example of one patient who had come in, his mother had received an inheritance.
Okay.
And he had, missing teeth. There was infection in there. There was black decay on the front teeth. And his mom decided that, she wanted to take care of her son and get him healthy again and, help him fix his smile. And in the before photos, you could tell that it kind of weighed on him. His eyes were kind of sunken. He just didn't look happy. So we cleaned up the gums. We removed the infection. He had bad breath that he was concerned about. The gums were bleeding continuously all the time. He wasn't able to eat anything because of just the condition of how sore his mouth and gums were.
Okay.
And as soon as we got all the infection out of there, got him healthy again, you could immediately see it in his eyes. So in the after photo, as soon as he had a chance to look in the mirror, and he saw himself with that new set of teeth,
and it was a denture,
and it was
cosmetic
a denture. That's right. Yeah, it was a denture. As soon as he saw that, there was a shine, there was a twinkle in his eyes. He even had like a little smirk. There was no smile on his face before, and then afterwards he had a little crooked smirk because he liked the way they look and he was feeling good. There's a lot of negativity out there about dentures.
Yeah.
And there are better options out there. I'll be honest with you.
Like supported by implants, things like that.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And in those cases, we also try to keep the teeth if we can, if it's what's best for the patient. But in cases where that's not an option, we don't have the budget for the implant-supported dentures, then we're going to make the absolute best denture that we can using modern materials and our modern workflow to try to make that transition as seamless as possible.
You call them digital dentures. You're
That's
making
right.
these teeth implies on a computer.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It is on a computer. So over the last 5 years, there's been a big revolution in how dentures are made.
Okay.
And so we use the same technology that that commercial airliners are using with their laser altitude systems. Also with self-driving cars, like the same LiDAR that they're using is what we're using. So with this technology, we're able to make a denture fit better than a traditional denture has in the past. I've had a patient who she hasn't had teeth for 30 years. This patient, when she came in for the consult, you could tell that she was concerned and that she was skeptical because she had been through this process several times before. This wasn't her first time to get a denture.
Okay.
But once we got in, we 3D printed her denture, and her first try-in, the amount of suction that she had was absolutely kind of groundbreaking for her. She literally cried from the time that we gave her the mirror and she was able to feel that denture resting in her mouth like it's supposed to until she left the office. Like, she didn't stop crying before she left.
Is that right? What's that like when they look at their teeth for the first time? Like if they had a really old bad denture or even bad teeth that had to be removed, what's that like?
It makes them feel good. A lot of times these patients are people who they haven't been able to smile for a long time. I've got a patient who she had worked with disadvantaged youth program in Fort Worth for a long time. And she was always looking out for other people and, kind of taking care of herself last. And she'd come into our office not for a new denture, but just because she had a tooth that was so loose, it was hurting whenever she was chewing. She was having a hard time eating. Of course, she was embarrassed, to go out with family or friends. So we removed all of her upper teeth and we made her a new denture. She wasn't expecting it. That wasn't why she came in. But once she saw that she could smile again, this is a woman who probably hadn't smiled in decades. She didn't have teeth to show in a smile. And so once we were able to replace all that teeth and make her smile look natural and full and beautiful again, her whole demeanor and her whole attitude changed.
So there are different, materials that you can make these dentures. I think, like there's a base or maybe a middle level and then the best one that you have available to you. Take me through each one of those and which one you like the best.
So all of our dentures use a 3D printed resin base.
You have a 3D printer in your practice?
That's right.
Oh,
yeah.
so they print the teeth right there?
That's right.
Okay.
We have different levels with 3D printed teeth. We have more aesthetic, teeth that are manufactured, and then we can have like a milled denture that is of the highest strength.
So what are the different levels of materials that are going on out there? Not necessarily what you're using, but what do denture wearers need to know about how they make dentures and what their options are?
So there's really 3 options available right now. So you have the traditional denture that's made the traditional way with all of the imperfections. That is a traditional acrylic resin. And a lot of times they have some sort of plastic teeth with different things that they'll add in to add to durability. There's
They just don't fit very well, usually?
That's right. If you've ever played, the telephone game,
Okay.
or if you've done multiple copies on a Xerox copier, like you see how it degrades over time.
Yeah.
Or how the message that you start out with on a telephone game ends up sounding nothing like what
Okay.
we end up with at the end, right?
All right.
That is the problem with the traditional denture. So you're taking that mold in the beginning and it's got a certain margin of error. And then we're pouring that up into, it's a plaster mold, essentially. That has a margin of error. And then whenever they put the acrylic resin in there and they make the denture in the traditional way, it's wax that's melted out. And so things shift and move. There's a huge margin of error there.
So that's how dentures are typically made. That's, in fact, when
That's
you
how
worked for this
dentures are
big
typically
company,
made.
that's how they were doing it.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. And so
And it just doesn't, fit very well?
it just
Is that
doesn't
the
fit very
problem?
well.
Okay.
If you've known anyone who's gone through the process of getting a new denture, typically, once you get the new denture, there are a lot of adjustments that have to be made. After they've taken all the molds and done all the try-ins, there's still a lot of adjustment that needs to be made to make that denture fit.
Okay.
With a digital denture, that's one that has gone through the digital scanning process where we use a laser to get our accuracy, and then we print it in a digital resin. That margin of error has been reduced so much that for the vast majority of time, we don't have to adjust it at all.
So when you're doing this, like scanning, it's like a little wand that goes and measures their, the ridge of their mouth, the amount of bone they have.
So
Is that kind of how it works?
they're for immediate dentures. So for patients that are having all of their teeth extracted and they're going to be wearing a denture for the first time, sometimes we'll use the wand. Sometimes we'll take an impression in the traditional way.
Okay.
But then we scan that impression with a digital scanner, and that's that LiDAR laser scanner that has that incredible
So the computer
amount of accuracy.
actually is making it custom to a person's mouth.
Exactly right.
And that's not how it's normally done.
That's exactly right.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. The third option is really just, it's still a digital denture. It's just a question of which material we're going to use. Some are more durable. Some, like a more basic level, will wear down a bit faster. The greatest advantage of going this route is that we're still able to recreate the smile, right? We're able to remove the infection. We're able to recreate the smile. We don't have the same function as we might with dental implants, but cosmetically and appearance-wise, we're able to get to the same endpoint.
Okay. And it's like you said, not everybody, look, I've interviewed doctors in your town that talk about dental implants, and there's great, and I know you agree that that's the ultimate option, right?
That's right. It's
But
the
not
best
everybody
way.
can afford it.
That's right.
So that's what this show's about for the people that maybe
That's right. It's a
want to start with at least a good looking denture, a better fitting denture.
That's right. We want to get healthy. You want to remove the infection, and then we want to get back to a place where at least we feel comfortable smiling.
And now I always feel like I could spot a denture walking down the street. They look fake to me.
That's right.
How realistic can you make them look today?
So the techniques for making it look realistic haven't really changed, right? If you've ever heard of like a piece of computer generated music, like where the tones are all evenly matched,
Yeah.
you can tell it sounds different, right? It's the same thing with dentures. If we make all the teeth look exactly same and perfect in line, then the human eye can spot that. That's
Looks
gonna look
fake.
fake.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
So you create what? Some imperfections?
We make some imperfections, yeah. We make, most people don't have facial symmetry. The right side isn't exactly the same as the left side. And so we add little imperfections in the denture, and then a lot of times you don't even know that the person's wearing a denture. Because of our digital workflow, we're able to take, let's say you bring in a photo of what you looked like 20 years ago.
Okay.
We had a patient who did this, and we did our very best to make her smile line match what her photo looked like from 20 years ago. In the past, with a traditional denture setup, there was really no way to accurately recreate that.
Is this true? I had somebody explain to me that was kind of really trashing the old style dentures that are being done every single day. They said, Randy, it's like buying a size, 6 shoe, 9 shoe, 12 shoe. They're kind of generic. But today with digital, it's custom based on
fully
their
custom.
gum line.
It's fully custom. That's exactly
So
right.
is that why it just fits so much better because of the computer?
That's why it fits better, and that's why we're able to control the aesthetics better.
Why isn't everybody doing it this way?
It's towards the bleeding edge. There's a lot of education, and there's a lot to put in place to be able to make it happen.
Now, you've made hundreds and hundreds, and
Hundreds
more
and
than
hundreds of
400
dentures.
dentures
Yes.
for people. Is there a learning curve?
Absolutely.
And what is your role? Because I just think that like the denture is the denture, but how much does the dentist play in a better fitting denture? Big role?
It's very important that we understand the concepts and kind of the mechanics of how a denture works. A lot of the process can be can be rote and can be taught, but having someone to oversee the whole process and make sure that it's staying true to the principles that are going to make a denture work is incredibly important. If you miss out on any of those steps, then either we're kind of starting from scratch, or the patient's going to end up living and keeping a denture that's really not, it's not functioning as well as it could.
On your highest end denture, do the teeth look realistic, and can you pick the shade from
That's
really
right.
white to medium white?
Yeah.
Because I guess, like you told me on the phone, that a 90-year-old is going to have a different color than a person in their 40s.
That's right. And we tried to choose an age-appropriate shade for these dentures. So the full gamut of shades that you have with any kind of tooth restoration. So some people have whiter teeth, some people have yellower teeth. As we age, that tends to be the case. We try to make the shade of the dentures kind of look more natural, so that it's not so obvious and apparent that they're wearing a denture.
And the material, now I guess there's different materials. So on the base model of a denture, what's the big difference as far as material and the way it looks to the high-end denture?
So on your base level denture, there's not going to be as much characterization. So when you look at the edge of the tooth, it might have a little translucency to it. When you get closer to the gums, it might have a little bit of a darker color. So there's variants that the human eye can pick up on.
Okay.
The basic denture doesn't have as much of that. Where our highest level denture, we try to make it very cosmetic. And so then we try to make it look as natural as possible.
Now, you're a dentist, so you probably think the smile's like the most important thing.
That's right.
How important is the smile, in your opinion?
I think a smile it's kind of everything. You think about it, if you see someone from 40 yards away, if they're kind of hunched over and they're frowning and there's no smile on their face, you probably don't want to be around that person. But if you see someone, let's say you're in a foreign country and you need directions and you're looking around for someone to show you around, your eye is going to be immediately drawn to the one who's smiling or laughing, and they're going to be approachable. So imagine they're two twin sisters who are going in for a job interview. They both have a little gap between their front teeth.
Okay.
The one sister, she likes it. She thinks it makes her unique, and she plays to it. So she has no problem smiling, and she likes the attention she gets from it. The other one is self-conscious of it. She doesn't really smile. She kind of hangs her head a little bit more. Would you agree that the one who smiles is going to have more of an advantage?
Yeah.
Yeah, when she goes in there?
Not necessarily whoever has the prettier smile, but if one is smiling, one isn't.
The one who has the confidence.
Okay.
Yeah. Look at Tom Cruise. He had, as a dentist, you immediately notice the middle.
In the old days.
Yeah, in the old days, before, yeah. His teeth were shifted over just a little bit. But that didn't stop him at all. It wasn't, the position of the teeth that made him successful. It was the confidence.
With his confidence.
Exactly.
And charisma. Are there a lot of people wearing dentures in Texas and in Fort Worth?
In my experience, that is the case. There are a lot of people out there wearing dentures. The latest numbers from the CDC show that there's somewhere around 40 million people who don't have any teeth and are wearing dentures.
Okay. So there's over 100,000, maybe 500,000 people in the state of Texas.
That's right.
That are wearing a denture.
Exactly. And the new numbers are showing that the millennial generation is actually losing their teeth at a higher rate than the baby boomers. And so dentures are still going to be a huge, there's going to be a huge need for dentures in the years to come. And out of those 100,000 plus people who are wearing dentures right now, probably more than 90% of them have an ill-fitting denture, something that's not staying in place. And
they have an old school denture.
That's right. It's probably made in the traditional way, and it probably has all of the problems that come with the traditional denture. It doesn't stay in place. These are the people that you see. I had a patient who told me one time he lost his denture because he was riding his motorcycle and it was in his pocket. It wasn't in his mouth, right? It didn't fit well. And another patient, people come in all the time, their denture is broken. How do you think they break it?
How?
It's in their shirt pocket. They're not wearing it.
Really?
They lean over and it falls out on the asphalt and it breaks, and now they have to get a new denture. There are a lot of people who don't wear their denture at home.
They tell you this?
They tell us all the time. Yeah, they'll say that the denture spends more time on the countertop than it does in their mouth. A lot of people will say that they wear their dentures when they're out smiling, and then whenever it's time to go eat, they'll take them out.
What do patients say? Like, for example, let's say there's somebody that, and you've done with hundreds of these, they have an old style denture. You give them a better fitting denture. What do they like the most about these digital dentures?
They like the fit the best. A lot of people will hide the fact that they're wearing a denture. You had mentioned that your mother,
My grandmother.
grandmother, had worn a denture, and
It looked bad. You know, I told you in the green room, I said, look, my grandmother lived a great life, 92 years old, but her teeth were bad for like 20 years, and she was always covering them, and they were black, and I didn't know that a denture could even turn black, and I didn't know she was wearing a denture. I thought they were just bad teeth, and I'm trying to help her because I've got a few dental connections. She wouldn't respond. She passed away at 92, and my aunt tells me, I go, I wish I could have fixed her teeth. They go, those weren't teeth, that was a denture. Now, if I would have known that was a bad denture, I would have, drug her to the, pulled her out of her, house and forced her to go in and at least get a newer cosmetic denture. So that one that at least she didn't have to be ashamed of. So there's a lot of people like that. So dentures could turn black?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, especially the old traditional style denture, they're kind of porous. And so over time, they start to leak, and they can become discolored just from staining and from different things like coffee or tea or whatever that you're drinking, getting into the denture. People with bad teeth are judged. If you think about it, if any villain in a Hollywood movie, right, sometimes they'll have sharper teeth, or they're kind of broken and jagged, or if they're trying to make someone look less educated, they'll black out a tooth. Okay. Or if they try to make someone look like they're from the countryside, they'll give them Billy Bob teeth.
Like buck teeth.
The buck
kind
teeth,
of a thing.
yeah.
At Halloween stores, they sell
the
those.
Halloween stores, exactly. Like in the movies, if you want to make someone look dirty or unclean, you'll give them bad teeth. And a lot of times I find this isn't true. There's a huge genetic component. Some people just aren't lucky, and they have bad teeth. They're brushing, they're flossing. They're doing all the things that you're supposed to do to take care of your teeth, but for whatever reason, they just keep losing them. And
so this bacterial infection, you just can't brush it out.
That's right. You can't brush it out. And in some severe cases, even dental management of it is extremely difficult. And the success rate is pretty low.
Okay.
And so we don't judge those people in our practice. We're here to serve them so that we can help them get their smile back and get healthier.
When you get rid of that infection in their mouth by extracting some of the teeth, do they feel healthier? I mean, did they tell you they feel better?
Tons of people feel better. They come in and we tell them, hey, you've got a gum infection. There's really no hope for these teeth now. We need to get them out of there. And as soon as we do, they come back 3 months, 6 months later. They tell me that their blood pressure is lower, that they've lost weight, that their blood sugar levels are lower. And overall, their doctor's happy because they're a lot healthier.
Just about every book now, we have a lot of medical doctors on this show, and just about every book, whether it's The End of Alzheimer's or some of the integrated medicine books, they're all addressing gum disease. That if you have infected teeth in your mouth, you got to get them out. Or try to clean up the infection and save those teeth. So I guess everybody's talking about the immune system these days because of COVID and things like that. So by removing these infected teeth, it's one less thing for the immune system to worry about? Is that what you believe?
That's a part of it, that just having this active gum infection is kind of taking some of your body's resources so it's not able to fight other things. But it's also an inflammation thing. They have come out with studies where people with gum disease had a lot higher death rate due to COVID. Another thing that they've related it to is that active gum infection, they find that same bacteria in the clots that are in hearts or in strokes. And so they believe that it can contribute to that.
So if you have bleeding gums, I've been told, that everything's basically leaking into your bloodstream, all the bacteria.
Yes.
Is that kind of how it
right.
works?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Some of the new leading research over the last couple of years with Alzheimer's has shown that bacteria, they think, because it comes from your gums and that gum infection that you have in there, it makes its way into the brain, and it's not the bacteria that
So one of the contributing factors is this bacterial infection in the mouth.
That's right.
So take us on the consult. We got a couple of minutes left. When a person that it's been determined their only option is a denture, they can't afford the other option, dental implants. So we're talking about a denture. What do they want to know on that consult about this denture? Like, what do they ask?
They want to know how long the process is going to take, how long the dentures are going to last, how much we can characterize the look of things, and then how to care for it and what they can eat. Those are the biggest questions that I hear.
And you answer all those things?
That's right, yeah.
And how soon can they eat? Like right away?
Typically, they can start eating right away. We want to start with softer foods, and then as you get used to it and become accustomed to the denture, we kind of graduate up. And the sky's really the limit. It really depends on what you're able to learn how to chew and eat with those, but just kind of starting comfortably, starting with softer things and working your way up.
Now, are there ever people that come in and they self-diagnose? They think, I need a denture, you have to pull out all my teeth, and you're actually saving their teeth and then doing like cosmetic dentistry on them?
That's true.
Veneers, crowns, etc.
That's right, yeah. A lot of times we're doing comprehensive dentistry instead of just removing all the teeth. Ultimately, at the end of the day, your natural teeth are going to be much better than a full denture. And so, if the patient has teeth that are in good enough shape, then we want to utilize those as much as we can.
And so I guess the challenge, and you've explained to me that people that are wearing dentures, they don't go to the dentist anymore. So they don't even know their options.
That's right.
Is that the challenge? I mean, look, this reaches a lot of people, this program. And what do you say to that person that's wearing an old denture, maybe just made 5 years ago, but you say it's so much different today? What do you say to that denture wearer that's really miserable? It just doesn't fit. What do you say to them?
The technology is improving at such a rapid rate that right now the options that we have are so much better than even 5 or 10 years ago. So come in, let us take a look at it, and then we can provide you options and see if we can get you more comfortable.
Now, what about insurance? Do you accept insurance?
We do, yes. And a lot of times these procedures are pretty comprehensive, and so our staff is trained on how to maximize every last benefit that you get from your insurance. And some people who can't afford the full balance are financing it. And we have different options available to try to make, healthy mouth available to everyone.
Are more and more people financing procedures in general at dental offices?
I do notice that trend. It does seem like more people are financing things, and it has made a lot more comprehensive treatment available to more people, I feel like.
So what do you like better? You like the people that still that maybe have been told, okay, if you had to choose, which patient is happier? The ones that you're upgrading with a better fitting denture, or the people that have really bad teeth, they all have to be removed, but they can't afford dental implants? Who seems to be the happier of the two?
Well, I like both groups, because the one with the ill-fitting denture, I'm able to make such a better fitting denture now that I feel like I'm able to help them. But I get most excited about the people who are losing their teeth and have access to our current level of technology, because we can tailor their experience and give them such a better experience than was possible 20 or 30 years ago.
Okay, so what do you say to the patient watching this? It's the two categories. They have really bad teeth. They all have to be removed. They can't afford right now, or don't want to spend the money on dental implants. Or the person that's currently wearing a 5 or 10-year-old denture. What's your final message to them? They've heard what you had to say, but they're still skeptical, or they want to put it off. Obviously, they don't like going to the dentist.
I invite them in. We'll take a look at it and come up with a custom plan that's going to be best for them.
All right, I want to thank you for coming on the show. Good stuff. If they want to make an appointment, do they do it through the website or just call your practice?
Both. You can make an appointment from the website, or you can give us a call.
All right, thanks for coming in. All right. Good stuff. You've been watching the Wellness Hour, news that makes you healthier. I'm Randy Alvarez. For now, I wish you good health.